Hey there, boys and girls. So it's been a long time since I've uploaded a new tutorial, and that's mostly because I've been trying to gather up what everybody really wants to see. And after asking around on sites like Tumblr and DeviantArt, seems like everybody really wants me to do a line art tutorial. And while I'm always happy to share my techniques, I think you all might be a little disappointed that I don't really have anything fancy to share. And when I say like fancy, I mean like using a line art tool or some kind of magical button that does it for you. I do have some tricks that'll be really useful, but again, I can't like make a program do it for you. You still gotta practice and try hard to get this to work the way you want it. And honestly, the most important thing about creating line art is just getting in that practice, because practice makes perfect, you know? So don't get discouraged if you can't like master this right away. It's just a form of practice, you know? Another thing to note is this tutorial is only helpful really if you have a tablet. And I know most people do these days, so I'm not too worried. When I was growing up, having a tablet was like a big luxury, you know? Back when they cost hundreds of dollars, even for like the tiny ones. But nowadays you can go buy a Bamboo for what, like 70 bucks? So yeah, if you don't have a tablet and you really want to be serious about digital art especially, go get one. Save up. They're not too bad. For today's line art tutorial, I'm going to start with this sketch. Something I did a while ago, but I thought it was really cute, and everybody likes My Little Pony, so little baby Discord. And I already had colors on it because I just colored under the sketch, but for the sake of teaching you guys how to do line art, I'm going to lighten up this sketch a bit. So the first thing you do is you create a new layer over your sketch, you know, basics. And I'm using Paint Tool Psi right now. I personally don't like using Photoshop for lines, but the technique is pretty much the same. So on the new layer, I usually pick the inking tool, or the inker pen, in Psi. It's your basic brush. And I pick about a size 7 or an 8. Now, a lot of people use a lot smaller of inking pens, or like they're the size for the brush. I use it a little bit bigger because I work on really high resolution. And actually my canvas right now is 4,000 by 4,000 pixels, and for me that just creates a cleaner look. But if you want to use a smaller brush or even a bigger brush, it's your, you know, do it at your discretion. But this is just what works for me. So, techniques and tricks. First of all, if you're using Paint Tool Psi, there's this handy little thing up here called the stabilizer. And honestly, for the longest time, I didn't even know it was there when I was using Psi. So let me open this up right here and show you guys what it is before I get going. And here it is. Now, the numbers here represent how much it'll help stabilize your pen tool. And I usually go for about 15. That's a little on the higher end. But the S1s through 7s are even stronger. So maybe mess around with this tool if you're using Psi, because it'll help quite a bit. So with my stabilizer set, I will go back to my size 7 brush. And here's one of the techniques I've taught a lot of people is try to use as little brush strokes as you can. One solid fluid stroke. And the reason I say that is because they'll tend to come out a little bit smoother. If you're doing like this, you're gonna have a lot of cleanup to do, right? So, oops. Okay. I use as few strokes as I can and make them as swooping as possible, as in like just one solid hand gesture. And again, this is something that'll take a lot of practice, but in the end, I think it makes a really good result. And of course, you'll have to touch up little things here and there, regardless of that. But it just creates a smoother look, you know? Again, same thing, just using one solid swoop. And for me, this has really helped me a lot, because I used to try and do like a ton of little strokes, and cleanup was just a pain in my butt, and I hated doing line art. But as I got older, I figured out doing these single like long strokes really just made things so much cleaner. And you'll notice I didn't actually stop the single stroke to go over this little chin hair here. That's another little trick I use. If you're trying to follow like a curve or a singular line, like say right here, what I do is I follow through with it anyways, and then when I go to add in the other part, I continue doing it with the single strokes also. Like that. And then I do my cleanup afterwards, like get rid of that extra bit of line, and ta-da, it's on the image. And there's really not much more to say about this one, really. I don't have that, like I said, I don't have a magic wand tool that'll instantly line the picture for me. But it's just a lot of trial and error with this technique. And the cool thing about having a tablet pen is, if you use like a larger brush, see I switched to a 14, you can do a thicker stroke, and your tablet's pressure sensitivity will make it so you can actually thin out that line towards the end for things like the highlight of the eyes, for example. And then I switch back down to a 7 and then do the rest. And sometimes I go over my lines twice, and it can be tricky if you don't have a steady hand or you're not really familiar with tablets or inking like this in general. But again, practice makes perfect. And I realize this is going to be a really short video, and I really apologize for that. But again, like, inking is one of those things you just gotta practice. And, you know, I can't really help beyond the little tips I give. And sometimes you'll notice too, I edit my sketch as I go along. It's okay to do that, by the way. If you feel like while you're inking you find something that flows a little bit better than the original sketch you had, don't restrict yourself and just stick by the sketch. Sketches are usually really loose and not as controlled, so they're there to give you the basic idea of what you're trying to achieve. So if you're trying to make something smooth and clean, like say this line art is, just go with the flow. Don't be afraid of Control Z or undoing, because when you're first trying to get this single smooth stroke technique down, it's not going to work the way you want it to right off the bat. And even still, for me, I make mistakes. So don't be afraid to use that Control Z. It's your friend. Another thing that can help you out is rotating your canvas if you need to. And that's especially easy in Paint Shop, or, pardon me, it's especially easy in Paint Tool Sci, because all you gotta do is hit the delete or end keys and it'll start to rotate your canvas. And that's very vital for me, at least, I know, as an artist using Sci to ink. Being able to rotate it just gives you a different angle to approach it with. It makes doing your lines a little bit easier. And that's it. I didn't bother to finish inking this one because I never planned on it being more than a sketch. Because, you know, it's just one of those Tumblr-esque things. But I used it and I hoped it helped you guys in learning how to do better line art. Again, remember guys, I'm not an art school major. The only art school I've ever taken was art classes in high school. So I'm all self-taught, but if you ever have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. Just leave a comment in the comment section and I'll get back to you. Also, be sure to check out my other tutorials. There's how to recolor line art and how to do basic shading in Photoshop and Sci. Thanks.